Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wellbeing podcast, where we discuss all things health, fitness, real estate, and entrepreneurship. My name is Zach Bush. I am your host, and today I have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Nathaniel Hovsepian.
Close.
Nathaniel, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Did I get it right, or did I still mess
Hov-
up, even though right before?
It's all right. Yeah. Hovsepian. Yeah.
Hovsepian.
Yeah.
Damn. It's even worse when we talk about it before, and I still
Well, I emphasized the hard O at the beginning and let I just thought the E was gonna be natural, but no, apparently not. Yeah.
It is when it's been your whole life, and now I'm trying to
That's true.
figure it out.
Yeah. That's
We've known each
the
other
way you
forever.
pronounce it is very good compared to some of the ways that I've heard it.
I had practice right before we got on, and I still didn't get it right.
Yeah,
and I've known you for a while, and it still is like I never even really asked you how to pronounce it. I'm just like, let me just not try to say his last name, and we'll get around it.
It'll work itself out. Yeah.
So I've known you for a little bit. I think talked on the phone for like 2 years ago, like right when you joined Sub 2, which was right around the same time that I joined, and then there was a gap where like we just kind of didn't talk to each other for a little while, and then I don't know, a year ago, 6 months ago, like we just reconnected for whatever reason and have been doing a lot of stuff together and met in person finally at the mastermind a few weeks ago. But so obviously I know a lot about you, but why don't you give everyone a little background on your journey from, where you started to where you're at now, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, to start, I'm married. My wife, Brittany, as well. She's my, business partner, friend, best friend, all that stuff. When it comes with a wife that you actually love. I'm a father of 2 and a third on the way. We have 2 little boys currently. We don't know what we're having yet for the third. I will be finding out no matter what Brittany says. They're doing that one's doing like October. I was in the Marine Corps. This is actually, oddly enough, you normally see me in like a flannel type shirt. This is a 20-year-old shirt at this point. This was from the Marine Corps, and this wasn't even my shirt actually. So I looked down. I know there's one shirt that I have that has a number on it, and it's not this one. I can digress from that though. So I was a Marine.
At least you have a shirt on, which you
that's true.
That's your thing too.
That's kind of my shtick. After I got out of the Marine Corps, I did some odd stuff, mechanic and things like that, and then I kind of stumbled my way into real estate. I bought a condo in Southern California and lived there for a few years, and that thing appreciated just like California real estate does tend to do. It appreciated a lot, and we made, I pulled out all the equity when I sold that and was like, oh man, this real estate thing, it could be a thing. I had always had it. My dad had planted the real estate seed in the back of my head when I was younger. Maybe it has like the very slightest translation, but I was good at Monopoly, oddly enough. Okay. And he was like, you're good at Monopoly. Maybe you should do something in real estate. And the stars aligned, so to speak. And so I kind of got started really in 2016. It was supposed to be a primary home, and Brittany got a job an hour and a half away, and we were like, oh, we're not going to keep this as primary. We wanted to get into real estate anyway, so let's hold this thing as a rental. And so I went in, I did all the work to it, didn't know what I didn't know at the time. So I did all the work myself, other than like electrical. There's a few electrical things that need to be done. And then we rented out, we held it for a couple years until we moved. That was in Oklahoma. We're currently in South Carolina. And when we moved, we decided to sell that. Again, you don't know what you don't know. That thing, it was a cash cow for us, but we wanted to be able to take the cash out and start doing, more investing here locally to us. And so I was going direct to seller. I had wholesaled for 7 years at this point. We just made the pivot at the beginning of this year to really focus on why we got started in real estate in the first place, which is buying and holding properties. So we still will buy properties here locally because we do like the Augusta, Georgia market is great. The South Carolina, I'm on the South Carolina side of the border. Aiken, South Carolina is a great little market as well. But we're everywhere now. We're looking for creative deals across the country to hold as, midterm, short-term, co-living properties. Those are our kind of 3 bread and butter, so to speak, that we're looking for. Awesome. So is that a background enough? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's funny. So, you know, a lot of people's journeys go through different things, right? Whether it is health and fitness or even real estate or business, right? You got to learn a lot of things. And,
Oh
you
yeah.
talked about you don't know what you don't know. So you spent a lot of time wholesaling and have recently made that transition. So why the transition and what gave you the confidence to, make that leap?
Oh man. Okay, so it's funny. Somebody when I first started in sub 2, which the reason I joined sub 2 is so I could actually become a better closer and a wholesaler. I had been closing deals, and we had been wholesaling and flipping houses, and I joined sub 2 so I could become a better closer and so I could learn creative finance, right? So when I first joined sub 2, I was having a little bit of struggles there. Like, hey, I thought I would be doing more deals at this point, on a monthly basis. And so I made a post, and a bunch of people reached out, one of them asked me, why did you get into real estate? And I'm like, well, so I could buy and hold, long-term rentals or whatever at the time.
Mhm.
And he was like, well, why are you wholesaling then? And it just kind of went in one ear and went out the other.
Yep.
And about a year ago, Pace Morby started the Project Forward, and I started this podcast that, I have a podcast as well. You were actually on it. I don't know, episode 13 or something. It was a long time ago. And through this podcast, I met a bunch of other people that were like yourself in the Growth Co.
Mhm.
And then everybody's talking about Jesse Stanton. And I had like little interactions with him on Facebook and stuff. But when I got on the phone call with him, the aha finally. He said, start with the end in mind. And it took a couple years of me grinding and wholesaling and flipping. And yeah, we made money doing it, and we did pretty well, and we helped a lot of sellers out, but that's not why we got started in real estate. And having a conversation with him, it was like, oh no, this is what we got to do. I had paid, we had paid for some other coaching programs in the prior years, and we were looking for somewhere to essentially buy somebody's experience and somebody's knowledge and accelerate ourselves to where we kind of wanted to get to. And so that's where, did I answer this question, or did I just like meander around for a little bit? That's how we ended up in the Growth Co. I forgot what the question was. Sorry, Zach.
It's fine. Making the transition from wholesaling to real. I mean, you did, yeah. So you talked
Okay.
about, how
Yeah.
you got into that, and I had the same realization too. Was wholesale. I'll do that. I'll stack up some cash. I'll learn a lot along the way, and then eventually I'll buy some, as I go. Rather than the same question got me was like, well, why did you get into real estate? And then you realize I am not doing anything close to what
Right.
I thought I was going to be doing. You get caught in that trap of just, all right, I'm just going to grind, and not really think about where am I going? Is this getting me to where I'm going?
Yeah. And Brittany at the time, this is going back a couple years at this point. I'm wholesaling. I'm on the phones all day, talking to sellers, talking to buyers, making deals happen. And when we had our second, we had both talked about it. Like, look, we're doing pretty well. We can afford financially for you to not go to your W-2 anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you can come be a part of the business, and you being a part of the business, we're really going to take the next leap. And so it was like 3 months or maybe a few months out, 6 months, something like that, that she had quit, and she was a part of the business now. And she looks at me and she's like, I'm not a part of this business. Like, I'm your secretary, essentially. Because she doesn't want to be on the phone. That's not her. That's not. It could be her strength if she wanted to. She can really do whatever she wants, but it's not what her desire is. She doesn't want to be on the phone. She wants to be like making Excel sheets and all that fun stuff. And so we had to take a step back. Okay, well, if wholesaling requires me being on the phone, constantly, and that's not what you want to do, and all I'm doing is going, hey, we need a contract signed, or like this needs to be done, you are acting as a secretary, and that's not what my wife should be doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's a freaking bad mama jamma.
Mm-hmm.
And so we took a step back, and this was about a year ago at this point. Okay, well, if wholesaling is not the thing, at least flipping if we focused on flipping, at least you can be like the project manager, right? You being Brittany, and see the things through, right? Pick out what the colors and the tiles and the flooring and the paint on the walls and all that stuff. And so that went all right. But again, every time we figured out how to acquire a property, we rehab this property, and now it's coming time to sell. And I'm like, man, why are we selling this thing? Like, this is not what, yeah. So again, long story short, we ended up meeting Jesse. Yeah. And it's been freaking off to the races. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you brought up bringing your wife in. So what did she do before? I don't think I've ever asked you that. I know she's working in the business with you now. What does she do as her job now? And how did that translate well to what her strong suits are and what she's doing in the business now?
Yes and no. I think parts of it, yes. She was so we met at Cal State Long Beach. We were both mechanical engineers. She also double majored as like industrial management or some engineer. And she was working as a mechanical engineer for a defense contractor. I can't say too much more than that. No, I'm just she ended up becoming like project manager, overseeing different aspects of vehicles moving through the production line, essentially. And so, yeah, some of that does translate, right? She had some leadership skills. Now that we've hired on an operations manager, she's able to put some of those skills that she learned on the job and outside of the job. She went through some leadership training to the test, or to practice. And then also just like she got really good at Excel. And so she's able to make spreadsheets and things like that, like just things that would take me an hour. She's like, okay, go ahead, start putting your data right here in this column, and all these things will work out. Yeah, I'm like, okay. So yeah, she's translated that a little bit, the the practical job experience that she had. But she's made. I'm kind of the CEO, not kind of. I'm the CEO, and she's the COO. Right? I'm the visionary. She's the integrator. If you wanted to look at like a rocket fuel, wait, is that rocket fuel?
Yeah. Rocket fuel, yeah.
Yeah, rocket fuel type of scenario, yeah.
And that's awesome. And people have business partners. They come and go. They talk about when you are trying to find a business partner to go through a dating period, just to make sure you don't make anything too official, just to kind of correlate like relationships and business, right? They're kind of the same thing. And so obviously you guys in your situation, you went through the dating period and you did that in the personal relationship.
Yeah.
But when it comes to business, that's adding a whole nother thing to the mix, especially once you start adding kids. And now if you're both full-time in it, right? Everything's relying on the business doing well. And you guys have stuff you could fall back on, sure. But, this is the focus right now. So what does that balance look like between being a husband, a father, a CEO versus a COO? And how do you navigate all of those things?
It's a struggle sometimes. It for sure is. I regret to say that the husband hat doesn't get worn probably as much as it should. That's something that we're working on. We've talked about time blocking, and that's something that we're going to bring to Zach and I have a Facebook group, Healthy, Wealthy Family through real estate. And we're working on habits and stuff like that. And the time blocking is one aspect of it. Just putting on husband, wife on the calendar, that we're not going to talk about business, even though that's like the biggest focus that we have as business. Like, we need to take those COO and CEO hats off and focus on us too, because, once we're older and the business is doing its thing, right? Because that's the intention, is to work our way out of the business eventually. And the kids have grown and they're gone, they're out of the house. Like, what's left is you two. And if you haven't been working on that for 20 years, you're going to come to find out, I don't even know this person. Right. And it's something that does weigh on me for sure, because I don't put enough focus on it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And, you mentioned you're hiring an operations manager, you have an operations manager, and, so that helps work out some of those problems, right? Working yourself out of the business and being able to oversee it and spend less time, like you said, you're on phones all day and all of that. So, you've hired the operations manager. What does that look for people who aren't familiar, right? Obviously we're in the growth code. That's what they preach, is how to hire out and really be the owner. What does that look like? How do they help you? And explain a little bit more about that process.
Yeah. I mean, the operations manager does a lot. So as the CEO, our job is to bring opportunities into the business, right? And the COO, Brittany's, to make sure that the operations at a high level are running. Our operations manager works right, like if we're here, the operations manager is just like right next to us, right? She's taking in all the deals that come into the inbox and underwriting them. Anything that kind of pencils out, we do a little powwow on, and then she's literally handling everything from bringing contractors, property managers through the escrow process, making sure that she's coordinating with the transaction coordinator to make sure that all the paperwork and everything is getting done in a timely manner. And then once the escrow process is closed, she's getting contractors out there and she's managing the project. So she becomes a project manager at that point. And then she's making sure that the property manager is going to be ready for, once the contractor's done, to get the house furnished and get tenants in place, whatever our hold strategy is. So the operations manager is like, she's running the operations, right? Brittany's just making sure that anything that she needs, she has, right? So that's our job as the C-level executives, right? The C-level employees, is to make sure that everybody below us or everybody right next to us has what they need in order to thrive in their role. And we brought on again, she's a bad mama jamma too. Joanna, shout out to Joanna. She's on vacation right now, so this week has been all hands on deck for Brittany mainly. But that kind of goes back to what you asked previously with how we balance it. It's really, we have about 16 hours total in the day between the two of us, right? During the actually it's more like, yeah, it's more like 18. We have a couple hours before the kids wake up. We have a couple hours after the kids go down. And then we have, a good solid working day in the middle, taking out lunch and dinner and bedtime routines and stuff like that. So it has typically been, over the past 6 weeks, about 75% me working, 25% her during the awake time, right? She's had the mom hat on for the most part, but this week's been different for me. Well, it's been different for both of us, right? She's been doing the operations manager stuff. Right? She's been underwriting all the deals. And so it's been interesting for me to take a look at how I'm spending my time and what higher level tasks I can be completing, because now I have less time. Right. So it was a little challenge Monday, Tuesday. I'm like getting a little stressed. Like, I'm not doing these things, but okay, wait, what can I be doing better that has a higher impact on my time? So
yeah, I love that. And so, you hired this operations manager, and they're helping, and you said you're kind of running through some of the stuff now that she's out, and you're kind of getting a glimpse of what it was like before and kind of some of the chaos that it was. But I had a train of thought there, and it just completely evaporated. It was just like,
it'll come to you in an hour when we're done.
And then I know, and I'll be like, oh, that was so good, and I had it all lined up. So you mentioned bringing her on, and now you're kind of working like you were before, where it was just you two doing all the thing, wearing all the hats. And so when you made that transition, and then when she made that transition into being full-time entrepreneurs, like nobody's telling you what to do, where to be, when to be there. What was that transition like, and how did you adjust to doing that?
It's been a long time. That's a tough one for me to kind of go put myself back into. I would say, especially getting out of the Marine Corps, where you're very regimented, there's always somebody telling you what to do. It is a bit of a challenge and a little bit of a struggle, because I have historically not really been a self-starter, right? I'm not good at just going like, okay, this is what needs to get done today, unless I literally have, if you looked at my calendar, you'd probably be like, what the heck? But that's how I have to get it done. I spend the night before going, what needs to be done tomorrow? What do I already have on the calendar that's not movable? What time or what slots are open? And okay, what are my priorities for tomorrow? Okay, put that into that slot. Okay, that's the next slot. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't best answer that question, because I can't go back that far in my memory. I have some memory issues to begin with. So, but that's another conversation. But yeah, I mean, one of those things where definitely time blocking, I know I've touched on that already, is of the utmost importance, right? You need to be able to have focused work and focused time to where this is what's getting done. And you need to take your, before actually, to take a step back before the time blocking, is going, what's my goal? What are the action steps that are going to get me there, right? And we can equate this to physical fitness very easily. Is like, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to gain 10 pounds of muscle.
Mhm.
What are the things that I need to do on a daily basis in order to get to that goal? And so I say, if I want to buy 50 houses in a year, what are the things that I can be doing today, this month, this week, this quarter, that gets me to 50 houses in a year? And I can just work myself backwards from that. So if I wanted to, you know, everybody likes to say, I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to lose 20 pounds. But if I wanted to gain 5 pounds of muscle, right, I need to be doing specific things workout wise. And then I need to be doing specific things nutrition wise in order to be able to gain 5 pounds of muscle. Right. I can't be just going like, okay, I'm going to go for a run today. Tomorrow I'll probably do some curls. Maybe the next day I'll do some legs. Everybody says legs is how you get gains. So maybe I'll do some legs. And oh yeah, I swung by McDonald's. Let me get a burger. No, dude, you got to say, this is my goal. And these are the action steps that are actually going to help me realize my goal. I know that was kind of a windy path to get there, but
No,
I got
yeah,
there, I think. Yeah.
but like that's what that's what this podcast is all about, right? The equating the health and fitness side to the business, and
Yeah.
how somebody who's successful in business and maybe is lacking in health and fitness can translate all of those habits, the habits that they have, the vision, the goals, and all of that into getting better health and fitness. And the same thing, somebody who has health and fitness down, where they're going to the gym every day, they're hitting their goals, they have a vision of what things look like, they have a coach, right? They can take that and say, hey, I want to get into business, I want to get into real estate, just translate all of that stuff over to the other side. So they go hand in hand. That's why this podcast is here. So people like you and everybody else who have both of those down, right? Maybe they're not 100% where we want to be yet, but we've at least got basic habits down. We understand the connection between the two, and seeing how they think through their business and their fitness and the habits that they build. And so that way someone can sit there and go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like I can relate to that, or I can start doing that, or I can start thinking this way. And that's the point of all of this. So I love that you were able to make the connection. I definitely appreciate it, because then I don't have to do as much explanation on it.
I got you, dude.
So you've gone from the wholesaling to the buying to hiring an operations manager, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to hire anybody. I don't want to pay, like, I don't have the money or whatever reason. Or then I have to, I have an employee and it's extra work, extra stress and all that. So you've obviously overcome all of those things. What are moving forward? Yeah, you're still working on it, right? Obviously nothing is ever fixed, but you put yourself out of that comfort zone, which is, the first step.
Yeah.
What are the challenges that you guys are facing now as a business that, you're working to overcome?
Really filling her pipeline. So I mentioned that, like, the C level aspect of your business, we're here to make sure that the people that we employ have everything that they need. Oh, it just started pouring. I'm like, there's a weird sound going on. Make sure that they have everything they need to succeed, right? And our operations manager is working on commission. So the only way she gets paid is if we buy deals. And so it's my job to make sure that she has deals to look at that make sense for us to buy. And so that's been really my biggest challenge at the moment, is getting in front of people that have creative deals, right? And we're looking pretty all over the country, right? We've taken California and New York, where they're really not landlord friendly states, out of the picture. And our first criteria is, does this thing break even as a long-term rental, right? We're not breaking the molds here. We're not like going completely outside of the box and reinventing the wheel here. We're trying to follow success leaves clues. We're following in the path of people that have done this successfully. So, oh, dang, I forgot the question. Oh yeah. So the biggest challenge is, how do I spend the time that I have each day getting people and attracting those opportunities to me, right? I could sit there on Facebook all day long and say, please send me this deal, please send me this deal, please send me this deal. But I'm much better. It will be a much better use of my time if I'm able to attract opportunities to me rather than having to go seek them out. So I do still do some of that, Please send me the deals, because we're just getting started, and people don't know that we are buying deals, right? We closed on one a couple weeks ago. I literally signed paperwork this morning to go underneath for another one. We had one that we're working on as well. Like, there's opportunities here. And so it's just about getting your name out there, saying, hey, look, send them to us. Like, we're closing. We want to close. We want to get you paid, right? And so those are the things that it's just a different thing, right? It's a different way of looking at it. I'm solving higher level problems now than just me being on the phone trying to talk to a seller and lock up one deal. I want to do freaking 10 deals a month, you know? Man, it is really boring.
Yeah. And, like you said, doing the higher dollar tasks when you're cold calling and following up with sellers, right? Maybe $10 an hour task, $100 an hour task. Now, when you can get 10 wholesalers or, do a bunch of podcasts, right? Hop on, spend an hour and do 4 or 5 of those a week. And now you're getting your name out there to everybody whose podcast they follow that podcast. And now they know. And now, so that's if you're buying 10 deals a month, what's that? $1,000 an hour, $10,000 an hour. And how can I get the most amount of opportunities coming to me with the least amount of work? I think sometimes I know I thought about it when you're a business owner and you're like, you think you need to do everything, but obviously you don't. You're hired out your operations manager. And I want to be as lazy as possible, right? I want to put work in. I want to do hard work. And just because from the outside, it's like, oh, I only did an hour work, but you didn't see all the work it took to get the people together, to get into that Zoom or to look at my podcast. And, you're definitely doing a great job with that because I see your name everywhere. Obviously we have that Facebook group together and we're doing a challenge together. So, I get tagged in all the time, but people know who you are. And we started talking, before we started recording, that you don't realize sometimes the impact or who is seeing what, because those people aren't always saying, hey, I'm out here, or the commenting on everything. So you have some people who are like, love doing that, but you don't know what people are seeing. And, I think for me, the challenge that we're doing, I realized that when we went to the mastermind and other people were like, oh, hey, you guys are doing the challenge together.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I didn't even realize that you noticed who I was.
Yeah. Most people aren't comfortable putting themselves out there, but yeah, they're still watching. They're still, and they might even be taking part in it outside of the posting on the Facebook groups. And like, there was something you said there that, you don't see all the work that went into getting into this Zoom, right? You see this, I've seen it as like a meme before. You see the iceberg, right? And success is this part up here, but no, it's the 90% that's down below the surface. And there's this, I forget what the painter is, but and correct me out there if you want to, but Van Gogh is sitting at a table and somebody comes up and recognizes him and goes, hey, can you draw me something? And he takes like 5 minutes and he draws like this amazing piece and he hands it to her and he goes, it'll be $5,000. She's like, $5,000? It only took you 5 minutes. He's like, no, it took me 30 years. Right? Like, all these things are compounding over time. And right, you see the hour Zoom that you put on for the underwriting, or I do for the helping hands hour, that like a Pace or a Jesse does, but we don't see all the effort that went into filling that Zoom up and putting people in place, right? And all the skills and the hours spent learning those things, so I can actually coherently tell you, what, not tell you what to do, but like give you advice and like, this is what I would do, right? So yeah, you don't see all that stuff. You just see the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah. And in that, 80-90% of all the other work, there's times where you're doubting yourself, or at least I know I go through it. Maybe I shouldn't speak for you, but you're doubting is like, is this worth my time? Can I do this? Am I learning this quick enough? Am I doing this right? Like, you get those doubts. I mean, is that something you run into, and how did you kind of work through that? Because some of that's the slow, boring stuff that's like not super exciting.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that no matter where you are in your journey, you're going to have doubts. There's going to be points where there's this circle that Jesse shows that you end up in the valley of despair, right? We have, when we start something new, you have unrealistic expectations. It's, what is it? Uninformed optimism. So you're really optimistic, like, yes, I'm going to go wholesale and I'm going to get to 5 deals a month and I'm going to have a team of VAs underneath me. And then, 3 weeks in, holy moly, I haven't even had a good conversation with a seller yet. And now we move into this informed pessimism stage. And then if things kind of don't turn around, which they're not going to right away, you end up in the valley of despair. And you can either figure it out yourself and go out to success, or like, I did, like you did, we bring in somebody who's been through this all before that can show us, hey, this is the way, or this is a way to success. Or we go shiny object syndrome. And we go, oh, well, maybe wholesaling's not it. Maybe I'll go flip. And then you end up back in the uninformed optimism stage, like, yay, flipping's going to be the thing. I'm going to be on HGTV. And then you end up back in the circle again. So to answer your question a little bit better, I realized last year after we were in Creighton's, I forget what he called it, Creighton's program. I'm sorry, Creighton. Yeah. I'm sorry.
We'll put it in the show notes for the
yeah, there you go. Yeah. We realized how much we learned and how much we grew, not only in our business, but in ourselves and our relationships, and how we looked at different things. And like, oh man, if I can pay for somebody's time and pay for somebody's knowledge, I can get out of this valley of despair and move to success. Or I can get out of this valley of despair and move to get to the uninformed optimism in a place where I actually really want to be, right? So we moved out of, we weren't in the valley of despair with wholesaling necessarily. We were just in a valley of unwant. And so we went into, we went to the flipping thing, and then you realize, no, this isn't it, right? We were able to take these skills that Creighton had taught us and take stock and values in what we really wanted. And now we're with Jesse, and just having somebody like Jesse in your corner, like, dude, this is what I'm going through. I'm freaking depressed right now, or whatever. Bro, I got you, right? I have you. I have other people outside of Jesse that I can go, they don't need to have necessarily worked through what I'm working through specifically, like in my business, to be able to help, right? I've been in the valley of despair. Like, tell me about it. Sometimes all I need is to just freaking get it off my chest, So again, I think I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. And the community, you said, you mentioned the community, and that's a big help too. And that's why, really, I got into Sub 2 because of the community. I knew about real estate. I had podcasts and books and all that stuff, but I was not doing anything. And I jumped into that, like, almost not really thinking too much about it, because I wanted that access to the community. It's like, all right, I don't know what I'm doing, but at least there's other people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Now I can leverage them a little bit more. And it might not pull me all the way out of that valley, but it's certainly a big help.
Yeah. It's now just a small little chasm. Yeah. And to kind of piggyback on that too, right? The reason that, I think the initial reason that you and I started the Facebook group that we started, the Healthy Wealthy Family, was just because I was noticing my feed was getting a little overwhelming, like with people posting and tagging us in it. And I'm like, oh, if we just had one spot where everybody could go and post to. So that was the original reason. But now it's like, okay, we're closing in on that 200, Jesse. I don't know how it's taken so long. Like, they've just been slowly ticking up, but that's beside the point. I'm realizing that having all these people here that are doing the same things is holding me accountable. And now I can post in the group and say, hey, this is my challenge today. And other people are going to say, hey, I'm there with you, or hey, this is what I did, right? And now we've created our own little smaller community that's everybody's going to be friends and stuff with, right? There's 13,000 plus people in Sub 2 at this point. I can't know everybody.
Yeah.
So
it's so easy to get lost. And, and what you said, and even going back to, like, the accountability part is great. And what we're talking about with the Valley of Despair, when people come in there, and I've struggled through it too, is like, hey, didn't hit my, thing yesterday, or, we slowly added one action or one habit each week. So we're in week 4, where we have 4 things that you're supposed to hit every day. And some days it just doesn't happen for whatever reason. Maybe you missed your exercise, or you didn't get the family time in, or you didn't network with somebody like you planned on. And getting in there and being vulnerable, we've had people come in and be like, hey, I had 3 things, but I couldn't get out for, my 30-minute walk that I usually do every day.
Yeah.
Maybe it's pouring rain, like it, is it at your place right now? But that's just as important to call out when you're struggling. Social media is great because you see all the wins, people are happy, but not everybody's out there saying, hey, I need help. And that's hard
Right.
to do. And having a space, whether it is our Facebook group or any Facebook group or community, having that space where you can go in and say, hey, I'm struggling, not even saying, can anybody help me, but realizing that people do want to help and they're going to jump in and say, let's hop on a call or let's work through it. Like what's your biggest hang up, or what can we do to kind of move past that?
Yeah. I think I hope that people are feeling like it's a safe space to do that, because we have seen a couple people like, hey, I missed the past 2 days, but I'm back on the train today. And it's just like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we need. Right.
Mhm.
And so I feel like we have created a pretty cool little space for that. And we've got some cool things coming. I know we don't need to spoiler. Yeah.
And that's what you don't, and everybody sees in the Facebook group, like what we got going on and all that work we put in behind the scenes on stuff. So,
Yeah.
I think that's always good. And just kind of working in the shadows, saying what you're doing, right? You need to tell people what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish, because people won't be able to bring you an opportunity or help you if they don't know what you're doing or what you're struggling with. But lots of great stuff coming up for that. And kind of transitioning from the real estate portion of it into kind of health and fitness, like what does that look like for you throughout your life? How do you weave that? I'm sure it has up and down, just like real estate. Like, how have you weave that into your life, and what does it look like now for you?
I've always been physical. Like, I've always been into physical fitness. I was, track, basketball, other sports along the way, and just out playing with friends, tag and this and that when you're young. And then as I got into the Marine Corps, those things changed a little bit. I got more into like lifting weights, right? Than going out and playing sports as much. I did actually play basketball while I was in the Marine Corps. I was on my base team, so we traveled around, which was kind of a cool, different experience that most Marines don't get. But and played football there as well. But after getting out, I kind of dropped off that wagon. I still was playing basketball, but my nutrition was terrible, and I gained like 10 pounds of just grossness. I look back at pictures from like 2008 and like, oh my gosh, why did you do that to yourself? And then I got back into got back into the gym a lot, and was really a little, maybe from a vain aspect, kind of focused on my physical fitness and like, getting the bigger arms and the abs and this and that. And then as time has gone on now, after meeting Brittany, it's been more about how can I sustain my physical well-being, right? And because I want to be at 80 years old and still be able to go, maybe not play basketball necessarily, but go shoot and, be physically fit. And funny enough, yesterday I think it was that Brittany posted a little video snip of like this guy doing all these workouts, and he's like, I don't work out to like look good, and I don't work out to this. I just work out so I could dominate my kids in every sport they ever want to do. And that's it too. Like I especially for Harlan's going to be 6'7", right? He's going to be bigger than I am, but I need to be able to still beat him at all the sports that he wants to do, like at least for as long as I physically can, like as long until they're become a man and they're just like, no, Dad, you're 55, right? Like, you can't do this anymore. Yeah. So for me, like I don't go to the gym, right? The first time when we were in Vegas, that was the first time I had been in the gym, like lifting a weight in a long time. It was good. I do miss aspects of that, but mostly my physical exercise nowadays is like body weight stuff. I do a lot of push-ups and pull-ups and just, squats and lunges and things like that. I have a set of kettlebells. I guess so those are weights. Yeah, I do. I don't do those as often as I should. I jump rope and I run and I walk a lot. Like if you've followed along the past 4 weeks, every single day I'm getting at least 30 minutes outside walking, right? Walking the dog, but the kids are in the stroller or they're walking with me. And I'm not just like, sometimes it is just kind of a relaxed pace walk, but most of the time, like we're getting a couple miles in of walking, right? And then to piggyback on that is we eat really well. Like, we don't eat a lot of processed food. We've completely cut out sodas. yeah, beer. Really, I had a beer in Vegas at the buffet just because they were like, "Hey, it's included." I'm like, "All right, I'll have a beer." Yeah, give me a Sam. I think it was a Sam Adams, but like we don't really drink a lot. So just eating really clean. You don't have. It doesn't. It's simple, right? It's the same thing with a real estate. Like it's simple, but it's not easy. Eat whole foods. If you look at the back of the package of something and it's packaged and it says a bunch of stuff that you can't pronounce, like that takes me back to my younger days. There was a commercial and like the kids trying to read the back of the package. Yeah. It's probably not the best for you, right? You know, I want foods that grew from the earth or eat from the earth. And sorry to vegans out there, I do eat meat. That's my favorite. I've been actually considering just going all meat, and seeing if any changes to my health go. But yeah, again, I think I answered your question.
No, I just let you go, man. It's all good stuff. I mean, as we go through, I jot some stuff down, things I want to bring up or questions I want to ask potentially. And then sometimes as I'm finishing writing it, you go into like answering the question I was going to ask. I was like, okay, I guess we'll find something else.
Yeah, for those of you out there, Zach is very well prepared. He sent these are the things we might cover. So I've been trying to do my best there, like weaving that in and out. And we, you know, you're into CrossFit, and I think CrossFit's great. It's not for me, just because of the pull-ups. The pull-ups are, you know, I don't have time. I don't have time to drive to our CrossFit. The closest one is 35 minutes away, and like I'm not driving there. Doing a workout takes 2 hours, right, out of my day. But I do a lot of CrossFit type exercises. But our, you know, we align a lot on that kind of stuff, right? The nutritional things, you know, maybe 90% of it, probably more, but it's pretty easy for us to talk about that. I've never coached anybody physically, but like people have always said, "Oh, you could be in a physique competition." This was back, you know, when I actually had arms. But you know, it's been a part of my life, and it's something that it was weighing on me as we started this challenge and we started this group. Is like eventually, and maybe it's a limited mindset, why not just start it now? But I want to be able to help people, especially veterans, that get out and lose that, right? That's something that weighs on me a little bit, is like, how can I help give back in that way? All the things that I've learned and over my life of how to just keep yourself healthy. Because I want to be, when I'm, you know, 65, I want to be able to roll out of bed and not be like, it not take me 20 minutes to be able to walk to the bathroom, right? I hear people all the time like, "Oh, I played with my kids on the floor yesterday and now I'm feeling it." I don't know. That shouldn't be the way it is, right? Like I'm going to be 40 in a month, and that's not a thing for me, right? It's because I'm focusing on these things every single day, right? I'm not going to the gym and freaking spending an hour and a half in the gym. If that's what you're doing, more power to you. Good on you. Like that's what you get value out of. Like I get value out of breaking those things up throughout the day and doing a 10-minute like a 10-minute high intensity workout in the morning, a 20-minute walk in the morning, a 30-minute walk in the afternoon, or a 30-minute run, right? Or a 25-minute jump rope workout, right? And then just put good in, get good out.
Yeah. And when it comes to, you know, you mentioned CrossFit, I do CrossFit. I love CrossFit, like the community aspect of it, but I'm not one of I always promote it because of the community aspect of it, but I definitely am not like CrossFit's the way, you have to do it this way. It's the only way to get, like, I don't think that way. And, you know, so I met my wife through CrossFit, not directly through our gym. She worked at a chiropractor who owned the like gym that was attached that I went to when I hurt my back years ago. We met, I don't know, 8 years ago. And so I went to the chiropractor. She was like one of the helpers and all that stuff. So like I talked to her for a little while, and long story, I met her through that. So the CrossFit injury led me to a CrossFit/chiropractic gym. And when she moved in with me, that gym was like a half hour away. She started coming to my gym that I've been going to since before it opened. And that transition was hard for her, and she struggled to go and was like missing it consistently, just not going. And I told her, I was like, I don't care what you do. You don't have to do CrossFit. You don't have to come to this gym, even if you don't. If you want to go to a different gym, that's fine. For me, it's just find something that you like to do. You just need to be active. It's just too big of a part of my life that you can't not be active. And not even just for like, hey, we won't start aligning, but like just for your longevity and your health. Like you mentioned, like I'm in this not anymore necessarily to compete. I'll go and do competitions. I'll jump into stuff just because like I can. I talk about, like I've mentioned before in like an Instagram post, like fitness freedom. There's the financial freedom, which is why everybody gets into real estate and investing. It's like you build that passive income to be able to spend your time doing whatever you want. Whereas like the fitness freedom is I want to have that baseline level of fitness that I can kind of jump into anything at any time. And right, maybe I won't compete or maybe I don't have to go super hard, but I have the ability to do that, even if it is just, hey, I'm going to run around with my kids for a couple hours.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to worry about, I'm going to be out of breath or am I going to have a heart attack or drop down or not be able to walk the next day.
Yeah.
So like just doing something, right? You said you don't want to go to a gym or you don't want to spend the half hour. I get that, but you're not using that as an excuse to not do anything. You're like, how can I make it work? And that's like, it's always about like, how can I get it done? Not, I can't get it done. So
yeah, that's why we have the kettlebell. Like this is going back a few years, but it was like, all right, let's set aside $50 a month or something like that to add to our home workout stuff. And this was even before COVID happened. I know it got really popular during COVID, but I think to touch on that, like anybody that's telling you this is the only way to do something, you should maybe take that with a grain of salt, right? Because CrossFit's great. So is freaking doing jump ropes, right? If you just did jump ropes all day, you'd probably be in pretty good shape. Not all day, but every day. And then, I want to be able to, when we go camping and there's a cool hike, I want to be able to do the hike, right? And I want to be able to do that for the next 40 years. So, beat the dead horse. Yeah.
No, for sure. And so you talked about helping veterans make that transition. Obviously you went through that transition of going from like really structured, especially when it comes to like working out, you were doing all of that and going into, all right, now you can kind of do whatever you want. Same thing with going from W-2 into entrepreneurship. It's like, okay, here you go. You're free. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You don't have direction. So what do you recommend for somebody who's going from very structured workout, right? Even from sports, I went from college sports to nothing. Luckily, I did have CrossFit that became my sport. But if I didn't have anything, I probably wouldn't have worked out either. And then I would have been lost. So somebody who's making that transition from structured activity to do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, what's like your thought process on like what's the first thing that you can do to make that a little bit easier?
Well, you mentioned something like find something that you enjoy doing. I think that's really important, right? If you like, I wouldn't say that I love running. There's an aspect of it though that I really do like. It's kind of freeing, mentally for me to just be able to go run. And then I come up with good ideas a lot of the times when I do that. So like, if that's what you like, do it. If you like going and playing soccer, go play soccer, right? And then take some of those, if you're coming from a rigid system, take some of those things that you liked from that system and apply it to what you're doing now, right? If you like doing 2-a-days, do 2 freaking 20-minute things a day. Right? You don't have to be crazy. The other, we talked about hiring somebody for your business and for your personal growth. You can hire a coach, right? You can hire somebody who's going to give you a structured weekly plan, and they're cheap. I don't know, cheap's relative, but you can, it doesn't have to be one-on-one, right? You can pay somebody that's going to give you a week's worth out. Here's your workout, right? For the week, go do these things. And as long as you're getting enjoyment out of that and you're actually going to put in the effort to do that, that's a freaking solid plan too. I mean, you could do that for your nutrition too. Here's the ingredients you need for the week. Here's your menu and what you're going to cook and how to cook it. So like paying for, I'm a big proponent of paying for people's experience and people's coaching and things now, right? So that. So those are the couple things I would say. Like you said, pick something that you like to do, because if it's going to be a chore to go do it, you're probably not going to stick with it very long. And then pull those things that are structured, or pay for somebody's time that's going to structure it for you. And then don't make it it doesn't have to be this huge thing. It doesn't have to be 2 hours a day, right? You don't have to be a superstar athlete, especially as we're going. Like I said, I'm going to be 40 in 3 weeks now. Like I'm not doing 2-hour days anymore. I guess I still do. So, like I go play basketball for 2 hours sometimes. Right. Most of my days are 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. I do push-ups. Like this is the habit that I'm moving forward with, is I'm keeping track of how many pull-ups and push-ups I do throughout the day. And it's not a lot. Like some people, it is a lot to some people, but to other people that are able to get on a pull-up bar and knock out 25 pull-ups like I was able to when I was 19, they're going to look and say, oh, you did 5 pull-ups. Yeah, that's what I can do right now. I can physically get on the pull-up bar and do 5 pull-ups. Like but next week I'm going to try to do 6, and maybe I'll still only do 5, but I'm going to get on there and I'm going to track it. And look, I did 40 today because I walked by the pull-up bar and I did it 8 times.
Yeah.
Right? That's like, I'm noticing a difference. So
yeah, I love that you just like break it in whenever you want. Like, oh, cool, the pull-up bar. I'm walking by it. Like it's like every time I walk by the snack cabinet, it's like, let me just grab a couple of Cheez-Its here, right? You do it with pull-ups, right? Like, let me knock out 5 or 6 pull-ups, and by the end of the day, you've done 40 pull-ups and 100 squats. And
yeah, that's it. And like, I'm not going to get big. That's not my intention, right? But this is a study that I read. Like a big contributing factor to growing into old age is your grip strength. And so that's something that I focus on, right? As we start to get older, we lose the ability to keep our balance. And so having the ability to reach out and grab something, if you don't have that grip strength and you try to reach out and grab something, you're going to fall and you're going to break a hip, and now you're in trouble. So it was a weird study that I read, but yeah. So that's something that I'm consciously focusing on, because that's been an issue for me my entire life. Is like, I got weak little insert bleep word here hands.
We'll edit that part.
Yeah. Beep.
So what are a few of the things what are the challenges that you're dealing with right now when it comes to health and fitness? We talked about real estate stuff, business stuff. Like, what are there any challenges that you're dealing with at the current moment that you're working through?
Physical challenges, yes. I have knee and ankle issues. I've kind of had those since I joined the Marine Corps. I had this weird foot thing that happened like 6 weeks ago. All of a sudden, we got off the airplane coming back from California, and my foot hurt. And I have no reason. I couldn't think of any reason why, and I've been dealing with that. So that's one aspect of a challenge. As far as like day-to-day challenges, no, this thing that we put together has really ironed a lot of that stuff out, right? I'm consciously thinking of, what can I get in 30 minutes today? And some of it I was already kind of dieting, but now I'm like, okay, did I get that in today? Right? And then, the push-ups and pull-ups, like, it's easy to fall off that wagon, but when I come back to my notepad and I see push-pull and like there's nothing written down, like, oh man, I better get down right now. I better get down and do some push-ups right now. And like the kids are doing it. It's really cute because they do their little push-ups on their knees and they struggle, and like they both want to get on the pull-up bar, and Huxley doesn't understand yet. So he pushes, and there's a dent in the floor because he pushed the pull-up bar off the wall, but it's cute though. But yeah, I mean, the accountability that you and I have had, right? And it's not like we're talking about, hey, dude, did you do your thing today? No, we're just seeing that we did it, right? And the accountability that we've been able to put together with all these other people has really been moving. So from that aspect, I don't really have any challenges right now. We're in the midst of, or we're towards the end of this challenge, and I don't see that stopping for me. I hope that everybody else out there that's been a part of it, they're going to continue doing that. And then, we're going to put other things in place that are going to help with a couple of other aspects as well. But yeah, I mean, just physically, I'm 40, but
yeah, and if you've been active and doing stuff your whole life, you're going to deal with nagging injuries here and there. It's just part of the process, right? Yep. I mean, I had shoulder surgery that every once in a while nags me. Like, I have a knee thing that like pops up when I run randomly. It's just part of the process. I'd rather deal with those kind of injuries and ailments than the things that come with getting older and being overweight and not taking care of my health. And you can mask it with pharmaceuticals and pills and all that stuff, but in the long run, I'd rather deal with all right, I'll just need to go to PT and rest it and work around it. Like, I can deal with that all day long. So that's something I can deal with. And another thing you mentioned is And why we structured this challenge this way is that it has different components, not just like all fitness or all business or anything like that. It
Right.
adds all the different components because, like you said, it makes you think, how can I achieve this? It gets your reticular activating system where it's like, all right, you're thinking about it throughout the day. So you're noticing opportunities on where you can network with more people for the business, or you can knock out a bunch of pull-ups, or how can I fit my workout in there? So it just makes you think a little bit differently, which a lot of the times is the most important thing. And you mentioned bringing your family involved, right? They're doing the push-ups with you, right? Like,
Yeah.
the family is an easy way to be like, I don't have time because I have kids, even with the business. Like, oh, I don't have time. I got to go pick up the kids. I got to do this, like all of that. Like, how can I, we've asked, we talked about that a couple of times.
Yeah.
How can I get them to be integrated with this? And that was the point of the challenge. Okay, can I get my 30 minutes of family time and activity in at the same time? Like, how can I start integrating those things?
Yeah.
Not, it's, you're present with them still, but it's all of that stuff. How can I get the family involved, right? As your kids grow up, I'm sure they're going to see you guys, doing business and running a business, and you're going to start integrating that with them. And that's going to make them better people as they grow up too. So that's the underlying part of the challenge as well, which has been fun.
That's funny that you mentioned that they're listening and they're going to be part of the businesses. We've been listening to the Gap and the Gain. Right, we started it on our road trip to the airport a couple California trips ago, and just today I hear in the background, what the heck is he saying? And Harlan's going, Gap and Gain, like, you little son of a gun. Yeah. So it's funny, and it's funny that you mentioned the combining the two. There were a couple people in our group that were doing their exercise with their family, not even realizing that we were going to add the family component of things coming down. They're like, hey, you're already, you're ahead of the game a little bit, right? I went out and I walked with my dad for an hour today, and we talked, and like, I had, not only did I get my exercise in, but I had dad time. Like, oh, that's amazing, right? I did on Father's Day. I got my exercise in, and I was like, we got back from Vegas. We had been in the car for 5 or 6 hours. I'm like, I need to go get a run in. Like, this is when I told everybody, and my dad was like, hey, can I go with you? I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Awesome. So we talked about a lot what you've done, obstacles you overcame on all aspects. And so moving forward for both of those, what are your three goals for each thing moving forward in the next 60 to 90 days? What are you hoping to accomplish in real estate, in the business, and then also in your health and fitness?
Yeah. So for the business, I think we're trying to get to 50 leads in the inbox by 90 days. So 50 creative deals in the inbox for Joanna, our operations manager, to be underwriting. We're seeing that it's taking about 150-ish deals, leads in the inbox to equate to a deal for us. That's kind of our KPI right now. And so if we can get to that, that means that we're hitting our 1 to 2 a week kind of as things are progressing. And in order for us to get to 50 at the end of a year, that's what we need to do, 1 to 2 a week. So that's kind of the business goal. As far as, I haven't really thought of a fitness goal per se, but as we're saying it, I think if I continue to do what I'm doing right now, I should be able to do 30 push-ups, and in a set, and then maybe 8 pull-ups in a set, 10 pull-ups in a set. That's where my kind of struggle is keeping my grip on the bar. But really, I don't care so much about that as the goal. I do my 60 to 90 days to continue the 30 minutes a day of exercise, right? The action is really supposed to be the goal. And keeping the every single day writing push-pull on my, oh, hey, it popped up. Usually it doesn't pop up with the virtual background. Keeping the push-pull there and keeping myself accountable to that. I haven't been posting about the push-pull part as much. I did when I started out, but I can hold myself accountable to that. There was a couple days last week where I didn't write it down. I didn't do any. And so I take that and I transfer it to my journal every night. And oh man, there's 3 days in a row where I didn't do any push-ups and pull-ups. Okay, get back on that train right now, right? And hold yourself accountable for it. So, yeah, those are
No, I love it. And you're tracking them too, right? That's the important part, is tracking is what I'm doing working. And that's how you know if you're going to hit your goal or not, right? You know, if we get 150 leads in here, we're going to be able to buy 1-3 deals a week. No problem. Like, cool.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you can adjust. If it's not working, why isn't it working? All right, do we need more? Is it different leads, or is it like I rather than pull up focus, I need to do more kettlebell work to work on my grip, right? Like, how can I switch it up if it's not working? And you don't know that until you start tracking things.
Yeah. And I love that you said the 60 to 90 days, right? We tend to, and even sometimes the 90 days is too long. Sometimes we need to just break it down to a month. So we tend to go like, especially when the new year rolls around, like, oh, what am I going to do this year? Like, whoa, a year's a long time, right? If you tell yourself it's going to take you a year to do something, or if you give yourself a year to do something, it's going to take you a year to do something. If you give yourself 90 days to do something, it's going to take you 90 days, and you can keep doing that, right? As long as it's realistic, right? And I'm like, I'm going to go buy 100 houses this week. Are you set up to do that? No, probably not. So, so I love that. And excuse me. And then the tracking thing too which maybe you're going to get to it. I'm just going to go right to it. It's a book like The Gap in the Game, right? It's a book that we've been listening to, and I already mentioned I want to get to 50 houses, right? This is the goal that I want to get to. But if I'm solely focused on not being there yet and not able to look in my journal and go, look at where we came from, right? And that's the reason I'm tracking the pushes and the pushes and pulls, is that I can go back and look, because 6 months from now, I'm not going to remember that I was only doing 15 and 5. I'm going to be at 25 and 10 and being like, well, why am I not at 50 and 15? Well, look where you came from 6 months ago. You were at 15 and 5. Like, be happy about that, right? Focusing on the gain. So yeah, plug in the book right there.
Yeah, I talked about that book on almost every single one, because I resonate with that too. I love that book. I've read it a couple of times. I might even read it again, because it's mindset and challenges are mindset's the biggest thing in any aspect, whether it's health, fitness, business, real estate, like whatever your job, whatever you're doing, is you get so caught up in the chaos of the day and comparing yourself to other people, and even comparing to where you want to go, that you forget to sit back and go, well, where was I before? Right. And am I a better person? And I try to talk to my wife about that. I was like, she's not really involved in the real estate stuff at all. She supports me and lets me do my thing, which is super nice. But, I've been talking about how I've been enjoying doing this podcast and, connecting with people and running the underwriting Zoom and creating this Facebook group. And she was like, well, that's funny, because a year or two ago, you would have never done any of that stuff. And I was like, huh, you're right. I'm not where I want to be, and I don't want to be a podcaster necessarily. But I'm much better at it and much more comfortable, and I have more fun doing it now. And I wouldn't have never thought that, a year ago, even 6 months ago, I would have wanted to do that. And so it's like, okay, that does make me feel good. So whenever things are down, whenever you talk about that valley of despair, look at where you came from, right? Yeah. Maybe you're not where you want to be or where you're expected to be, but you're definitely, as long as you've been doing this stuff, you're definitely further along than you were before. And that should make you feel good.
Yeah. As long as you're out there taking action, for sure. Yeah. You could even say it I went out and walked 30 minutes, right, every day for 6 months. Okay. Well, you could see, I used to only be able to walk to the end of the street, and now I can walk around the block or whatever. Right? So yeah.
Exactly.
I like just reiterating stuff over and over.
Let's talk. People need to hear things over and over again to get it. So I'm there with you. No, this has been great. So where can people find out more about your work? And they send leads to you? Where can they, you have your own podcast, you have your Helping Hands thing. I'll tag all this stuff in the show notes, so everybody doesn't have to remember, but what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, probably if you're trying to get in touch with me specifically, this is the best place to go. This will take you to anywhere that anywhere that you're on, that I'm on. So if you want to get me on Instagram, go there. If you want to get me on Facebook, go there. If you want to get me on YouTube, go there. If you want to get actually connected with me, go there. If you have leads, creative deals, and you want to send them to us, Joanna, Joanna, at theexperthomebuyers.com. She'll underwrite them, and she'll get back to you usually within 12 hours at the most, depending on when you send them, right? Sometimes it's within 30 minutes. We try to let every single lead know where we land on properties. opportunities. That's how we build better relationships, right? That's how we let people know where we're at. So eventually they'll go, this is not a deal for them. We're only going to send, the expert home buyers deals that work for them. And then, yeah, like Zach said, I have my own podcast, very similar to this, just kind of a conversational style thing. It's called Networking with Nathaniel. Wednesdays at noon, we do that. There's a slew of them. We've got 50 episodes on my YouTube channel, which you can get there. If you're struggling to get deals done, struggling to get traction in your business, and you're looking to kind of get to the next level, I have the Helping Hands Hour on Thursdays at noon, all Eastern time. Thursdays at noon. Reach out to me. I'll get you a link for that. We'll get it in the show notes here as well. So you can just click on that and register for it. We're live, open Zoom, come in and ask questions, role play, network, just make connections. We're here to grow together. And then, Zach's got his underwriting Zoom, which is maybe potentially in flux. Correct me if I'm wrong when that time is going to be. But that is a really valuable place if you're really struggling or focused on underwriting, either from a wholesaling, a buying, a lending perspective. Underwriting is kind of the core of what you're doing. And if you don't know how to underwrite, I see it all the time. Wholesalers send us out deals. They're like, this is a deal. And you're like, no, it's not. Come to Zach Zoom. Trust me. And then we actually have a lot of cool things planned for that as well, where we're going to focus on, hey, buddy, we're going to focus on, we're primarily focused on single family and dabbling in the smaller multifamily stuff. But we're going to bring in some people that have mobile home parks that are really good at that are really good at multifamily investing, the self-storage space. We want to just continue to provide value. And I'm a little selfish myself, is that I want to learn these skills too. So if I'm able to bring these people in to teach others, I get to learn as well. So
always a benefit for us organizing stuff. So,
yeah.
But the
That's why I
goal
started my podcast, is that I just wanted to meet cool people. Like Pace told me to go make a podcast. I'm like, well, what can I talk about? I don't want to just sit in front of a camera all day. I want to talk to people. Oh, hey, a networking podcast. Selfish. No, yeah.
And if you're doing it anyway, you might as well record it. Might as well give people some content to put out there. Hey, why not?
Yeah,
like you said, we talk do as minimal as possible to get the biggest result.
Yep. Yeah. Simple as safe.
Awesome, dude. Well, you're doing some great things. I can't wait to continue to work with you, do a bunch of stuff with you. I can't wait to see where your guys' business goes, how your family goes, and all that. So I appreciate your time. It's been awesome. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.